Hey guys, it's your girl Lashes Tony XO. How are you guys doing today? I have my coffee. This is in my Florida mug. All you Floridians, little shout out to y'all. How's everybody doing today? So, I'm kind of excited because I love tag videos. I have 2 tag videos coming up, so if you're a fan of tag videos like I am, then I think you'll be excited about these. And I will tag Tiffany Dawn in the description box. I would love to see her take on these 2 tags that I plan on doing. So today's tag is pretty new. It was created by my girl Samantha March and Allie Glines, I believe is how you pronounce it. So her and Samantha March are good friends, and they came up with this tag, which has been redone by Jessica Braun and Kelly Gooch. And Samantha March, Kelly Gooch, and Jessica Braun, I loved their take on it. And Jessica Braun added a couple of extra categories in here, so I'm thinking about doing her, so I'll add her to the credit. So I'll put all those channels down below if you guys want to see their take on this tag. It's the eyeshadow tag, I believe that's what they're calling it, the eyeshadow tag. I'm excited to do this challenge, this tag. I love eyeshadow palettes, and I know Tiffany Dawn has a shit ton of eyeshadow palettes, so she should be really good at this. She should do this. So I'm tagging you, girl. I'm tagging Tiffany Dawn. I want to see your eyeshadow palette tag, if you haven't already done it. Hopefully you haven't, but if you haven't, I'm tagging you, girl. So let's get started. The first question is, what is your newest eyeshadow palette to your collection? So again, this is an eyeshadow palette tag. So if you love eyeshadow palettes like I do, then you'd be really interested in to see. It's kind of also like seeing other people's collections. So like I said, I'll put people down below who's already done this tag, and I hope Tiffany Dawn will do this tag as well. So my newest palette to my collection, I just got it in the mail, and you're probably thinking, why are you just now getting this palette? But this is the Jeffree Star Morphe collab. Number one, I believe I got it on sale. That's one of the reasons. It's from Ulta, and I really like the packaging. It's silver and pink. It's really beautiful packaging. I actually got this for Mother's Day from my youngest son, Harrison. He asked me what I wanted. I was watching a random person, I don't even know who it was, but never seen these people before in my life, but they were talking about the Morphe Jeffree Star palette, and they were swatching them, and they swatched a color that just mesmerized me, and I'll show you guys what color it is. But it's in this palette. Like I said, I just got it in the mail, so there's bubble wrap in here. But yeah, so this is brand new to my collection, and I'm really excited about it. Like I said, it was a Mother's Day present from Harrison, my youngest son. He was like, Mom, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I was like, this palette kind of brought just excitement to my eyes. So I'm sure you guys already have it because this has been out for a while, but I don't know. Look at those colors, you guys. Those colors are just calling my name. So what really spoke to me was this. I don't think there's names on here. Yeah, there is names on here. So this one is Millions. Millions is what spoke to me. So it's this gold sparkle. If you can see that, it's gorge. So I'm going to swatch it for you guys, and that's what it looks like. So when the girl swatched it on the video, I don't even, like I said, I don't know who she was. Have you ever watched just a random bunch of videos, and then all of a sudden someone you don't know pops on there, and you're like, let me check her out. So I don't remember who she was, but she was swatching all these colors, and this color just kind of I love a good glitter, and this one just stood out to me. And I was like, my son had just asked me that day, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I was like, that palette was really pretty. So that's what it looks like. That gold color, just that's, I know it's silly to buy a palette for a gold, but there's other shimmers in here. Like, I'm just a big shimmer person. Like, there's the other one. This one is glitter, and this one is shimmer. This is my newest palette to my collection. The second question is, what is your oldest palette in your collection? And I actually had to Google this, because I was like, I really had to do my research to see, like, what my oldest palette is. And you guys, it is the Naked 2 by Urban Decay. This actually came out in 2012. So that was, I think that's when I first started, you know, getting into palettes, was around that time. So yeah, 2012. My youngest son was born 2001, and I wasn't into makeup then at all. It was just like whatever I had I would use. But in 2012 is really when I started watching YouTube, and really when I started getting attracted to eyeshadow palettes. So this is the oldest palette in my collection. I had thought about decluttering it a few times, because you guys know I don't wear cool tones, and this is like a crap ton of cool tones. If you see that, it's like pretty much all cool tones. But this kind of has like sentimental value, just because I really didn't get into eyeshadow palettes until I started. This was like my first one, you guys. Look at those. Like, I don't wear stuff like that anymore, but back in the day, this is what I would wear. And I would only wear just like one shade, to be honest with you. I would just wear one shade. So this is definitely sentimental. I'm trying to find which one I wore the most. I would probably say the most worn, the biggest dent I have in here is a very like neutral color, which is this one, which is odd. Like, why would that be the most used? I don't know. I think I just put it all over my lid, or maybe used it for like a brow highlight, because I was big into brow highlight back in 2012. I don't really do it as much now. But yeah, so that is my oldest palette in my collection. I had to Google it. I had to look it up, because I was like, would it be the Too Faced chocolate bar? And actually that came out in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I Googled it, and it said it came out in 2014. So I do own the chocolate bar palette, but this said it came out in 2012. So I pulled this one for my oldest palette. Now let's get into most expensive palette. I had to do some research to see what my most expensive palette was. Now, in all fairness, if you're not crazy like me, it would probably be my Natasha Denona palette, which was $65. I bought from Sephora. But I did, if you guys remember this, place a huge Amazon order. I think it was last year, and I picked up two palettes that you can no longer get from Anastasia Beverly Hills, which I paid a ridiculous amount for, and that was the Subculture by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And the bad thing about it, I think I paid $80 for each palette, which is insane. But you can see like this palette right here, or this shade right here, it was, I think it was the gray shade. What is the name of it? Mercury. It was like a really light gray color. The whole thing just crumbled. So instead of repressing it like I should have done, I was very mad, and I just dumped it in the trash. But it was like I paid $80 for it. It wasn't retail when it first came out. It was just like any other Anastasia palette. I believe they're like $45 for, you know, if you get them when they first come out. But like a dummy, I paid $80 because I get FOMO. Like, FOMO's real. I'll watch somebody and they'll have this palette and they'll be like, yeah, I love this palette, whatever. And I'm like, I want that palette. And actually, I did have it in my collection at one time. These are the shimmers. They're not very good. This palette, I also want to say, is the most expensive because I did purchase this also on Amazon. Because you can't get either one of these palettes anymore from, not that I could find. If you can find it somewhere, then that's great. I would suggest doing that. I even heard my friend Heather talk about that. I think she said she saw one of these at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. I think she goes to Marshall's. But, of course, I had to pay like 80 bucks for these colors. But this one right here is all shimmers. And I love shimmers. So, I'm really happy. This palette is something I know that I will get a lot of use out of. So, it's just got some really, really, really pretty shimmers in it. So this one I feel like is totally worth the hype. The shimmers on here are gorgeous. And although I don't use this palette as much as I should, I really should use this palette more. But I just have so many palettes in my collection. It's really hard for me to get to all of them. But the shimmers in here are just like freaking gorgeous. Like, they're beautiful. Probably my favorite out of all the Anastasia palettes I have. This one is probably the most pigmented, I feel like. Ooh, I almost dropped that. I'm really bad about that. But yeah, so I would say, honestly, these are the two most expensive just because of what the insane prices that I paid off Amazon. If you find something that's been discontinued, usually you can find it on Amazon, but it's going to be like, the price is going to be like jacked up. Okay guys, so I had to look, my most, my biggest palette that I have in my collection. I honestly thought it was going to be my Morphe palette, because Morphe palettes are pretty dang big. But it is by Morphe, but it's the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. It is my largest palette I own. It's pretty dang huge. Like I said, compared to the Morphe Jeffree Star palette, this is what we got here. It's like that much larger. And this is about, I would say, about the size of a regular Morphe palette. The Morphe Jeffree Star palette is about the size of a regular Morphe palette. And this one is huge. I didn't realize how big it was. But, yeah. So, I still own this palette. And I don't use it anymore, to be honest with you guys. I really don't use it anymore. It's just put in another drawer and forgotten about. But I remember when I used to really love these warm tones right here. You guys know, like, I love shimmers. And, like, these colors right here were, like, some of my favorite colors in the palette. Like, these, like, rosy red tones. These shimmers right here were, like, some of my favorite colors. What did I do with my rag? Okay, look how dirty this thing is. So this is definitely my biggest palette in my collection, you guys. It's huge. It's freaking huge. Okay, the next one is Best Memory. You guys, I have a really good memory to this palette. It's super personal, so I'm not going to share too much about it. But it is this Too Faced Natural Love palette. It looks like this. Do you guys remember this palette? It has these really cute, I think it came out around Easter or Mother's Day. Maybe it was around Easter. Yeah, I think it was Easter. And it just has these gorgeous, like, it's very soft. And it's like raised. I don't know if you can see that. But it's like, you can feel like a raised fabric. It has like bunnies on it. And it's just a beautiful palette. It's got this large mirror. And these colors are very soft. And like some of the colors in here, just pretty shimmers, very soft wearable colors. But honestly, it just has a really special place in my heart. So yeah, the best memory I have is definitely this palette. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's just very personal. But I was actually out of town, and someone very special in my life completely surprised the hell out of me with this palette. I was not expecting this palette, and I remember mentioning that I wanted this palette and I like this palette. I remember looking at it at the store and swatching it and just like in awe of this palette. I just thought it was the prettiest thing ever. And I didn't think I was going to get it this year, or the year that it came out. So I didn't think I was going to get it. And then I walked to the car and it was sitting like this in the seat. And when I opened the door, Like, literally tears came to my eyes, and I was overwhelmed with emotion, which I've never had emotion for a palette in my life, but this, every time I look at it, it just brings me back to a very special time in my life, and I know I'll never forget that. I will never get rid of this palette because it has so much, it brings me happiness when I think about this palette, and it has a lot of love. So that is my little memory of this palette. So yes. Okay, my Worth the Hype palette. So what palette do I think is worth the hype? I own several of these. ColourPop is definitely worth the hype, you guys. ColourPop, this palette was only 12 bucks. This is the Going Coconuts palette, but it's not just this palette. Honestly, any ColourPop palette that you can get your hands on, you are going to be obsessed with the quality. ColourPop is such a drugstore price, but like a high-end quality, if you will. So anytime you can get a ColourPop palette, like I just gave away one to, I believe, Rosie Gray. She is getting the ColourPop palette. I think she said she doesn't own one, so if you're watching, Rosie Gray, you're in for a treat. It is a gorgeous palette. But ColourPop is definitely one of my favorite, I would say, overhyped brands. I just feel like ColourPop is such a beautiful just pigment. You just get really great quality. Like, I'm going to show you the shimmers in this palette. Those are the shimmers in the Going Coconuts. I do have several ColourPop palettes, but this one is I think my newest for me that I've used and tried out. And here's the mattes. The mattes are just as beautiful. Definitely a very worth the hype brand in my opinion. So if you can, definitely pick up ColourPop. Next thing I want to talk about is what brand do I think is not, or what palette do I think is not worth the hype? The one I decided to go with, just because it's so hyped up, is the Kylie brand. I feel like it's overhyped. Now, I was on board with it when it first came out. I was super excited about the Kylie cosmetic brand, but I feel like it's very overhyped, and I don't feel like it's worth the price. I remember like some of her packages were like $300, $400 to get like all the lipsticks and the shadows and everything, and I'm like, is this really worth it? And at the time I thought it was, but now that I'm thinking about it, like, honestly, you can get the same quality as ColourPop, and these are so much more expensive. So this is one of the first palettes I purchased from Kylie. But honestly, I would just say, if you're thinking about getting a Kylie palette, I know some of them can look beautiful, but save your money and go with ColourPop. That's just my personal opinion, and I have had a lot of palettes in my life. So like I said, I would definitely say this is my not worth the hype palette, or brand, if you will. So I would go with that. Alright, the next one is, what is my favorite palette? I'll give you a second to see if you could think of this one. What is my favorite palette, you guys? If you know me, you know the freaking answer to this. Bam! It's this one. This one. You know it's got to be Urban Decay. It's the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. Okay, there we go. I love this palette so freaking much. It is totally amazing. Back in the day, I would say a couple years ago, the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette was my jam, but then this took its place. This one right here. This bad boy right here. I just love it. It's really good for a neutral lover's dream, but it also, that pop of yellow in the middle right here just makes it overboard for me. I love that color. The shimmers in this palette, I think, are amazing to put on the lid. In most of my videos, you will see these colors like on the lid, and then you will see like one of these neutral light browns in the crease, and that has just like been my go-to. This is like my go-to palette. I would take this palette like on vacation because I know I would get really good looks with this. It's just my favorite palette, you guys. I love it. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Alright, the next one, let's see, my most used palette. This again has been played probably 3 times in this tag, and we're going to use it again. My most used palette is the Natasha Denona Nudes palette. I use this one a lot, so it's definitely worth the $25 for me personally, because like I said, it's in my everyday drawer. It is, I've pulled it out 3 times so far on this tag. Like I said, I am all about that shimmer life, and these are so buttery. They're so buttery soft. Those shimmers are everything. And then you have your like crease color, and then you have that color if you just want to zhuzh it up some. So this is definitely my most used palette, and I can't wait to get the new ones to add to my collection, but this is definitely my most used. Okay guys, so the last 2 categories, again added by Jessica Braun, and I'll put her link down below. So she added the categories most underrated palettes, and I'm definitely going to go with this palette. This is by Profusion, and it's the Wanderlust palette. Honestly, Profusion I feel like is up there with ColourPop. And you can get Profusion from Walmart. You can get Profusion from Target. I got mine from Target. You can also get it on, pretty sure you can get it on the Profusion website as well. And I think Amazon. I can't remember, but I think maybe Amazon. But I will try to find this palette and link it for you guys. It is an amazing palette. If you, they have different, obviously, like, color schemes. But this is the one that I chose, and it's just really, really pigmented, and the shimmers in here are insane. This is probably my favorite. I love a good gold shimmer. So this one is really beautiful. There's this really rosy tone shimmer. There's some purples in here. So if you like purples, there's some greens in here. There's pretty much a bunch of colors in here. So I just feel like this is a very like underrated brand and underrated palette. But the brand definitely, Profusion, I feel like if you haven't tried it, definitely should check it out. And this palette was only $10. Like, that's really hard to beat. Even for ColourPop, it's, I think one of the cheapest palettes from ColourPop is $12. And I do think it's very underrated. The brand, like I said, and the palette itself. So that is my answer. And the last is my limited edition, no longer available palette. I have a lot of those. I could talk about the Sultry palette, Anastasia one, the Subculture palette that I ordered from Amazon. That was insane. But I decided to go with this one. This one's the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. You can no longer get this. I did try to look it up to see if you could still pick it up. You can't. You can get it on Amazon. I didn't look on Amazon, but I'm sure you don't want to pay the price of that. But I remember I used to love this palette. One of my favorite colors, ooh, this is very soft, was this like really beautiful purple shade. This gold shade, very buttery. Like, these are super, super pigmented. But again, this was limited edition palette. And if you guys remember, they came out with a blush palette. I didn't purchase that one. And lipsticks and like a whole range of stuff with Gwen Stefani and Urban Decay. So yeah, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this tag. If you like eyeshadow palettes like I do, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up. I would totally appreciate it. Leave it in the comments, like, what is your favorite like eyeshadow palette, your least favorite eyeshadow palette, your newest eyeshadow palette. Leave it in the comments. I would love to read them. And also, don't forget, Tiffany Dawn, I tag you, girl. I know you love palettes, and I would love to see your kind of take on this whole thing. And yeah, I'll put all the questions down below if you want to play along, or if you want to do this tag and you're a YouTuber as well. And hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.